All right, welcome back, Facebook live stream and YouTube archive.
Yes.
It's an archival repository. That's what our YouTube is.
Until the first EMP hits.
It's all gone. And you know what? Let it go.
Yeah, it's fine.
It is. A lot of things wouldn't be fine. That's one of them that would.
Yes.
We would have to be paying attention only to actual things.
Yeah. Huh.
Most likely things that would be going quite badly.
Oh gosh, dude.
Yeah, dude. For
that would be a pain. We were discussing the connection with the battle.
Oh, I think we beat that horse hard.
I don't know. I think we were really moving into some good stuff because we were dissecting the reasons why a person would like the battle, and why a person wouldn't.
So we wound up kind of distilling it into a discussion of juxtaposition.
Yes.
With the hero's journey on one side, and this inferiority,
shame-induced
this
drive,
toxic inferiority complex on the other side, and who isn't a mix of both.
Yes.
But what does a person do when they've been rewarded for participating in that toxic inferiority complex? What does a person do when it's been institutionalized around them with market and with culture? I mean, the same is true of like everything. It's everywhere.
I know.
It's everywhere. You get good at football and all of a sudden it's cocaine and strippers.
I know.
You know? And that's a tremendously life-destroying thing.
Right.
But people don't look at it when they're, they got praised all through their youth for being good at football, and then they wind up, at a pro team football party, and then all that's encouraged, and like the whole world encourages us toward this.
I know.
And here's, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And who can tell?
I know.
By the way, this is brought to you by Life
Skateboards.
There you go.
One of the most painful things for me to see as a little bit of an older skateboarder now is when you met a kid at a skate park, like maybe a year ago or 6 months ago, or sometimes it's 5 years ago, and they were very sweet and they were little and they were just learning. And maybe you spent some time helping them, learn how to carve or learn how to do a kickflip or drop in. You held their hands like it was a huge thing for them.
Yeah.
And every time they saw you, they would get revved up, and there was high fives and fist bumps. And then
that's good stuff.
Yeah, oh man, it's awesome. And then some time goes by, and you go to the skate park, and suddenly that little person, maybe they're not so little, they've grown, and now their attitude has changed. And they're surly and quiet, and they're trying to shred. And you can tell that their focus has moved from, or their interest has moved from the kindness that maybe you were exhibiting to having all the cool cats at the skate park think that they're cool. They reach a level of skateboarding that becomes respectable, or they are above their peers maybe. That's very common in this situation. They're better than the people that are their age. And suddenly they're mean and surly, and they don't really want to say hi to you, and maybe you try to go up and fist bump them, and they kind of fist bump, but you can tell that they feel uncomfortable because you represent to them like the parts of skateboarding that the big boys that they really want to impress don't really like. Am I describing something that feels familiar to you?
This culture of inferiority that is so mainstream, if we can call it that for now.
Sure.
I've watched it swallow people's joy.
Yep.
I've watched it swallow the simplicity of that thing, the underlying philosophy that it's the not importantness of skateboarding that brings it to its best manifestations.
Yes. Right.
I've watched people young, and what I usually see is they fall in among a crew.
Yeah.
Community is very important.
It is.
And when there's no other community available, it's very common that a young person falls in among a crew that rewards them for affirming that system and punishes those who do not affirm that system.
Right.
So I've seen what you're talking about, and I tend to think aloud to myself that, well, life has a way of teaching people there's more to it than that, and I kind of tend to have this idea that maybe they'll wise up, but now it's, I've been a while, and I see that people aren't doing a great job at wising up.
Yeah.
So I might be a little bit more militant now, if that's possible. Because I've always been a guy who gives a voice to, like, if I could have,
right,
like if I could have, I might have seen the coalescence of another culture.
Sure.
The wild popularity of the CapmLew podcast is evidence that what the view that we have of culture is
predominant,
is taking off like wildfire, and absolutely, completely taking over both culture and market are obviously falling square in our laps.
Right. The ROI itself is just mind-boggling.
Well, the I is not very big. I mean, 2 days a week we podcast,
right?
But I feel fairly, it's fairly well evidenced that this is the way American culture is going.
Yeah.
Like, American culture has decided that we mostly prefer the being commoditized in market by this inferiority argument, doctrine. It's an idea set that it exists without being identified, but it influences everything. Is this the universal sin nature of man? Is this? I think it's an outworking of the brokenness and fallenness of mankind.
Yeah.
And so in skateboarding, one of my first reactions to it was to just be my happy self and like that.
Right.
That caused some ripples wherever I went, and it kind of culminated in the 20 teens with there being a lot of violent opposition to my existence.
Yep.
So that meant I was over the target.
Yep. Indeed.
We have not experienced that with the podcast. Maybe thanks to the fact that nobody's listening to it.
Right.
But if our podcast were to get big, I mean, geez, who would be mad about anything we've said on this podcast? We've got elements of San Francisco pro skateboarding reaching back into the 90s street movement.
Yes.
We've got YouTubers who run giant YouTube interests.
Right.
I mean, God bless Andy Schrock and Aaron Cairo, and we talk about everything.
Yeah.
The Nine Club wouldn't mind us. They would. I mean, I don't think we would raise an eyebrow over there.
At least not right now.
If we did,
right,
that I wouldn't be surprised. The It's Just Fine Club, is that what you call it?
It's Just Fine Club. It's
I don't have a heated critique of the Nine Club. My reaction to the things I don't like about the Nine Club are things they don't do and don't say. So we started our own podcast and we say those things.
Right.
Right. We don't have, and so this juxtaposition and the detailing out of this inferiority complex. I mean, there are going to be people who might resonate with this, but I don't think that the people of our nation, our culture, I don't think they're really inclined in a large way toward really dealing with the kind of things we're talking about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean,
we could make a stink about it.
We could, and I don't think it would be a bad idea too, and I think in some ways we are with the podcast. Like the fact that almost all of our advertising, almost like huge swaths, up to 70% to 90% of our culture is driven fundamentally by shame.
Yeah.
That's a gnarly thing.
How can our listeners understand that more clearly in the real time?
Yeah.
We're in this ocean of ideas that are hitting us.
Right.
Luke, I think you're right.
Yeah.
People are driven, but they don't recognize it as shame.
Right.
So like you can see it in fashion and cosmetics.
Easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Your eyes are not beautiful.
Right.
Put this on them.
Right.
Now your eyes are beautiful. And a person goes from feeling unbeautiful. Why do you feel unbeautiful? Because they told me I'm not beautiful. Well, when did their ad ever say to you, you're not beautiful?
Right.
Nobody advertises by saying you're not beautiful.
Right.
So where did that idea get in that your eyes are not beautiful?
Right.
It came when someone said, your eyes will be beautiful if you use this.
Right.
And that is
it plays on the most base fundamental nature of humans, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
It's insecurity and inferiority.
Right.
I'm looking at this argument that someone says, buy this product for your, I don't know, whether they mascaras?
Yeah, or teeth, or
they're now,
foundations.
They even have like stick-on eyelashes.
Oh yeah, people do that.
All right. So I'm like, I sound like my grandfather.
I know. It's so
I
funny.
feel like my grandfather.
Right.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, I've been listening to Coulter Wall.
My guy.
What happened in Saskatchewan in 1881?
Yes.
I want to know. I am going to Google search Saskatchewan 1881.
Yes.
Did a guy shoot the tax man?
I hope so.
That's what I feel. That's what I feel.
I know.
Anyway, I feel like if someone came to me and they said, you know, if you wear this shirt, it'll hide your gut.
Yep.
A healthy person would say, would, if I had a lady come up to me and she said, I want to cut off your beard. You could be so handsome.
Wow.
I've had a number of people say that to me. Wow. Say, I want to cut off your beard. You could be so handsome.
Thank you.
And I have responded to them that I will vigorously react to anyone touching my beard in anything but a respectful way.
Yeah.
I have had. I had a guy. I've had that interaction. And, And I've said, ma'am, I will vigorously resist that idea.
Yeah.
And I say it like that. I vigorously resist your assertion that beauty is important.
Right.
Especially forms of beauty that would call into question whether the length of a man's beard determines their attractiveness.
Right.
Especially shortness of beard.
Yeah, come on, man.
It is and I also share, ma'am, it is my opinion that a long beard is always a virtue. Coming from a guy who worked with rotary tools in a laminate workshop for 12 years.
With no accidents.
No, thanks be to God, no accidents.
Right.
So that vigorous, clear thinking way that I react to those things, I don't think that women generally even recognize that they're being sold not mascara and weird false eyelashes. I find them off-putting.
Right.
I don't value falseness.
Sure.
But they are also being sold. They're being sold an idea of themselves.
Right.
That if they don't beautify themselves, that they will not be loved. They will not be desired.
Right.
All right.
Well, it's funny because you can see
a lot of work.
No, dude, I love this stuff. I can talk about this forever. You can see that advertisements, depending on what the product is, they break them down into masculine and feminine. So like truck commercials are not geared towards women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're geared towards men. And like clothing products or anything that's going to beautify you or you know, enhance the way that you look are usually geared more towards women. And I think that's because men, as a general truth, that's generally true, want to be respected and thought of as tough, and women want to be thought of
capable.
Women,
yeah, men want to be men
yeah.
want to be respectful,
right.
respectably capable.
Yes.
Typically,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, and as a general rule, women want to be beautiful and desired. You know what I mean?
Are we on shaky ground at all here?
I don't think so.
I don't either. It's unpopular.
So. No, it's unpopular, but it's absolutely true. And advertisers know that. The funny thing is they're coming from it. They're not saying this is how men and women are. They're just saying what works. And they're coming up with this style of advertisement or this style of doing things that really work, where you can see the truth is made manifest. And skateboarding is similar. It's usually geared towards more men than it is women. And I think because of that, the battle has become, you know, the pinnacle of what it means to be a skateboarder, because that's the way that men are normally geared. Normally. That doesn't mean that no women ever skate. Of course they do, and they love it. That's badass. And not all men want to have a battle, but largely a lot of them do. And it, in my opinion, is connected directly to feelings of shame and self-worth and whether or not people are in the group or not. Because you can see that people who come from, you know, whole families with parents that love them and they have great support are normally, when they battle, they're not so desperate. You know what I mean? There's not that sense of desperation involved.
There's less desperation.
It's less desperation, and it sometimes makes it more pleasant and sometimes not, because we all enjoy to watch somebody, you know, we all enjoy watching train wrecks, and we all enjoy watching, you know, beautiful, elegant pieces of art being done. So, but I think it's helpful to articulate these ideas, because when you watch somebody battle, or maybe you feel like, oh, I want to battle this out, and you have your preconceived notions about what that means, we can be a little bit more articulate within our own brains about the way that we feel about it. You know, some of us will battle less, and some of us might battle more. Because, again, as is normal with most problems, the thing that you see as the problem is normally not the problem. It's the thing 3 levels under the problem that is so distasteful to us.
It still feels like so much soup.
Oh, it's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel to me like it ought to be this much soup. I feel like I used to say, like, question authority, especially douchey retail authority.
Right.
And I found that making fun of and being, you know, spicy takes on, like, those kind of, that was seen as overly aggressive and just far beyond the pale.
Yes.
I had dear friends come to me and they're like, you need to tone that down. I'm so proud of you that you stopped picking on the industry.
Right.
That was when I knew I was going to turn it in.
Yeah.
Because when the closest people to me in skate were telling me that they were happy that I was no longer lampooning this toxic and garbage crap culture.
Right.
The reason I wasn't lampooning it was because I was trying to figure out how to continue to participate without precipitating my own murder. Yeah. You know. Yeah. It turns out it's not possible, so we're just doing it.
Yeah, I guess we'll do it anyway. Right.
I find the idea that you're not valuable and you're not respectable, you're not desirable if you don't buy these things. I find that to be a reprehensible and ridiculous idea.
Right.
But I walk around like a clown, wearing what I like to wear, doing what I like to do the way I like to do it.
Right.
I am still alive by the provision and grace of God, and I have meaningful relationships and family. I don't know. I might be a testimony to the fact that you can forget about spending your money on what the minute someone treats you better because you own or have a thing.
Yeah.
Or they treat you better. Like, I believe in good performance at work.
Sure.
But it's just work. and I could do a different job, and I would want to perform well there too.
Right.
I accept that at my job, I am paid to perform tasks. I should perform them well and be well paid.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But to see that ascribes a value not to me, but to my ability to accomplish these tasks.
Right.
Skateboarding doesn't pay you to accomplish tasks.
Right.
It makes you pay.
Yeah.
You're the one with the broken wrist and the broken elbow and the torn out ankle and the dislocated hip.
Yeah.
And you're the one getting hip replacements or getting caps on your hips.
Right.
You know, later on in life. And very, very, very few skateboarders get to have it as a job.
Yep.
Those that do often practice it at the expense of their own mind and soul.
Yeah.
It's not a good job. Being a skateboarder for money means that you are like that scene in Zoolander where it's like dance monkey,
dance,
you know, and Derek Zoolander is a monkey and they're saying dance, and I think he was being MK Ultra. He was, and actually that's apropos.
It is.
You're being MK Ultra'd when you get into this thing, and just don't get MK Ultra.
Yeah, come on, man.
MTV was not the friend of the 80s.
Yeah.
It you know, the dead Kennedys have not got good thinking right now. You know, Jello Biafra, I just find him to be far gone. But in the 80s, they nailed it. MTV Get Off the Air was that was a really good repudiation of the very things we're talking about.
Yeah.
MTV Get Off the Air by the Dead Kennedys was a repudiation of this same thing.
Yeah.
And the kind of beauty that really is worth desiring is not things you smear on your skin or stick to your eyelids.
Right.
The kind of beauty that's really worth desiring is internal.
Yep.
A confidence and a peace and a knowing what matters in life. And that, by the way, that can only be won in the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And
which is far, far more difficult.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but it's worth it.
It's funny. I talk to my wife about this all the time because I really connect our marriage with a hero's journey. That's what makes it. That's part of what makes it valuable to me. It's the one place in my life where things can be just a little bit magical. And I don't mean like we're in love. What I mean is, no, I swore that I was going to do this with you until the end of time. And that finality of the covenant that we're in, it sets my dials to be at war on behalf of our relationship, on behalf of my wife. You know, and maybe it's because I grew up reading like C.S. Lewis's, you know, Chronicles of Narnia, you know, or watching Lord of the Rings. I'm looking for places in my life where I can really apply some sort of fairy tale-esque, you know, archetypal hero's journey. And unfortunately, skateboarding can be that for some people, and I think held in its right place, I think it's a wonderful place to play that out.
It's a much less important.
Oh my gosh, it's so not important, bro.
Skateboarding is not the right application for. So all these life lessons that we're claiming that skateboarding tells us, and this whole family that skateboarding brings us into, it's so much ephemera.
Yeah.
You know, it's so passing.
Smoke and mirrors.
Look at how I remember Jeff Grosso was doing a love letter in which, and I think we might start the next episode with this.
Yeah.
We'll pull the clip.
Yeah.
And Jeff Grosso did a love letter where he talked about if I can't skateboard, there's no reason for me to live.
Sure.
And that is echoed in what Tony Vitello shared in the San Francisco Standard about Jake Phelps, and I oppose that standard.
Right.
I oppose it. I think that it would be really important for us to oppose that.
Yeah.
To repudiate that. That is buying in entirely to the MTV facade, sham, and so much of what's going on in the skateboarding culture that's pushed
Yep.
is a false hero's journey that only reinforces the inferiority complex that's already chewed a hole through the heart of this entire nation we're in.
Yep.
And what we really need to do is repent, humble ourselves, open the good book, and get down to work.
Yep.
That is an awfully trite sounding, but I mean every word of it. We should get to work on what matters the most.
Yeah.
We're at 88 minutes of a 90-minute cap. That's a good thing.
Yes.
90 minutes is a long time. Who would listen through?
Yes.
Thanks to our listeners. Thanks to Life Skateboards for great skateboards to ride. Thanks to those of you who donate through Podbean.
Yeah.
And here's to whatever we cook up in the coming next couple of months here.
Yeah.
We're working on making this a full-time gig.
Doing stuff.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. We post things.
I post things.
You do.
I do. I haven't done it lately, but I'm going to.
And I'm going to do things too.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're doing it. Thanks for listening. Yes. Remember, this is on you. For what it's worth.
Laters.
All right.
So toxic.
That concludes. This is.
You may be listening to the CapmLew podcast, but what are you wearing?
Later, folks.
Laters.